Okay. Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Hope you're doing well. Tonight I am hanging out with Luinicisa, aka Oscu, and we're going to be chatting about Splinterlands. We're going to be talking about the Soulbound reward cards, maybe do some trades. Who knows? I'm just unbinding some cards right now. Nice. Paul, I was talking with Oscu here right before we went live about, I wonder if maybe there's an opportunity to, actually I know there's an opportunity for some people, not everyone. If 20 people did this, 100 people did this, it probably evaporates. But if you've got a few legendaries or epics it looks like you can unlock them and sell them for a little bit of profit margin. It's interesting, and I'd love to look more at that because, like I was talking about with Gathering the Magic, I want to say 2 days ago or whenever that was, Gathering and I were talking about ways to scratch and claw and grab a few bucks here or there with this, and I think there's opportunities. There's two other things. The first that I had thought through was talking a bit more in detail about the marketplace, because the Soulbound unlocks, as people like yourself are frustrated, but there's profitability. Like if you spent 25,000, so let's just look at Thane New Song. You just unlocked one. Thane New Song, you spent 25,000 DEC on that card. I gave it to you, but still, if you 25,000 DEC at current price point is $16.25. And then if you go to Peak Monsters and you look up I love that they added this feature, by the way, with reward Soulbound. And if you come in and you look at Epic Monsters Thane New Song, now I guess you could argue it's maybe not gonna sell, but look, we've got one here for $18.05. And that person theoretically stands to gain $1.50. Like right now, if somebody buys that, and I bet that one sells because it's $2 cheaper than every other one. And those little margins seem trivial to me, actually. Like I don't know that I would buy, if I had an extra Thane New Song gold foil, I don't think I would spend $16.50 to try and sell it at 18. You've also got the market fee too, which I'm not thinking through properly, to be honest. But my point is, if there is margin, and some of them there are, look at Noah the Just selling for 20, Idri selling for 1982. It was only that one thing that was 1805. And then on the legendaries, on the reg foil, there's some profitability or some space. The Musa Saline, as well as Usut and Duskblight and Iziar and Sturgis are all selling for over $4. And the 5,000 DC that you would need to spend to unlock it would be a $3.25 price point today. And so if you sold it for closer to $5, you're covering your margin and making a little profit. And I know you're taking some risk to do that, but I'm just saying, and I'm not sure everybody knows this, this is another way that there are opportunities in front of us to scratch and claw and get 50 cents here or $1 there. And maybe that starts adding up because maybe you have these cards anyways and you don't like them. You got extra copies of them or whatever the case may be. This particularly was available yesterday. Like a lot of these were selling for $6 on the legendaries. So the margins start to shrink as more supply comes to the market. But that was the first thing I wanted to kick around and just see if the people in the chat had thought about this or had been playing that angle. And also to see what you thought.
It seems as if the chat believes that down the road those prices are going to increase. At the moment, like you said, it's probably just the unlock fee plus a little margin. The chat just says 5 to 10% probably average margin on those.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I don't think that the margin is worth the risk.
Mm-hmm.
Because the risk of not selling them is quite high. Because the people that need them right now, they probably have a couple.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens if those already had their fill and just don't buy?
Mm-hmm.
That means that somebody from the outside would need to come in. And if this person would need to buy for the epics, for example, he would need to buy 46. And I don't know if we have the liquidity for 46 then.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking the risk, to be honest. I'm probably going to burn my gold falls if there's a good strategy to obtain the new soulbound cards. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to play the kind of the game for a 5 to 10% profit.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. And that's a good sort of it's like the other side of the coin, and it's super important to look at. Because I used to say when I was regularly flipping cards, I found it was really important to understand that the best sort of card to flip, because I consider what I'm describing card flipping. You would unlock it for 25,000 and hopefully you'd sell it for 28,000 DEC, something like that. And you're trying to scratch and claw and get a little profitability. The question is, one, can you sell it quickly and easily? There are some cards that are quicker and easier to sell. And gold foil epics or legendaries are probably not going to be in that realm of quick and easy to sell, because they're a bit more expensive for one thing, and they're also not going to appeal to every audience member. Whereas probably these sell quickly. At least all the cards, mostly I sold several Avis Sturgises yesterday for about $5, maybe 3 or 4 of them. I sold 1 or 2 Musa Salines. I sold a couple Dusk Blights and a couple Iziars. Or no, I bought Iziars. Regardless, like movement on these cards there's greater volume. And so you want to understand how quickly the card will move. And then you also want to understand the profit, the possible profit based on not just the purchase price, but the presumed sale price after you buy and sell it. And you can predict those things, but you can't ever guess. You can't ever know for sure. And then one other piece that I just want to finish that thought around is, if you can say to yourself, I would like this card, even if I don't get to resell it, that's the best kind of flip. Because there's sometimes you're going to want, you might say, well, I need more Iziars. I need 1 or 2 or 3 to get to that next level that I want. And so I'm happy to buy them. And then you might see a flip opportunity and say, I could buy them for, let's say, 3 and try and flip them for 5. And if that happens, I'll be happy. And if they don't sell, I'll also be happy, because I'll merge them with my other BCX and make myself a max copy. Those are the best kinds of flips, because then you're not screwed if you don't get the margin you were hoping for.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the strategy I would go for, because I mean, you and I, we like to play on the highest level, and I could just let them sit in my deck waiting to be sold, with the prospect of combining them if I don't sell them. So
Yeah.
there would be a strange concept for me if I have, let's say, I have 6 at level 3.
Yeah.
And I have 5 spare. It would be too tempting for me to just combine them and use them on the highest level
Yeah.
than to wait. But I see where you're getting.
Yeah.
Gathering the magic says something interesting in chat. He says, like, well, buy now when the prices are cheap, and just wait 5 months when the unlock fee is going to be higher.
Mm-hmm.
Because this could be a game for meta cards. Let's say Iziar, Hulu. Who else do we have? Noah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are a couple of those cards. I'm pretty sure they're a pretty safe bet.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you need to put down the money now.
Yep.
And wait.
Yep.
And hope.
Yeah, I would be inclined to agree.
Good work. Another angle which I was thinking about, and I think this could be also. I think Aftersun touched the topic slightly, and I was thinking about it, and could be also an opportunity if you're bullish on DEC. Then you could use credits, outside money, to buy DEC at 65 right now. So to pack, that would mean 35% less. You buy those cards, and you double dip.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning on the price appreciation of the card and price appreciation on the DEC.
Yeah.
And this could totally outweigh the costs of bringing the money in, meaning paying the PayPal fees or whatever for fresh cash.
Yeah.
Just another way to play it. I think this could be way more interesting than to flip for 5 to 10% right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think they're different games. Like I think, you know, like I said, I had a nice conversation with Gathering, and he was explaining how he would buy a pack for 30 cents and sell it for 50 cents or something, and those are chaos packs, and he was arbitraging between Hive Engine and the marketplace, the Splinterlands marketplace. And so I think there's some gamers who they are looking for, like, just, you know, this a buck here or there would be awesome. And then there are others who have a bit of maybe extra discretionary spending, and they can think they can think 5 months down the road and position themselves in a totally different way. And I absolutely do agree with the idea that the chat is saying around buy now, be patient, sell in 5 months. And others were saying that floor is going to increase. And I think if you look at, I talked about this earlier with respect to the legendary summoners from the Rebellion set. And I said, I think Drath is not getting the respect he deserves because he's the more recently printed one, and therefore there's 42 copies of him, not because he's a crappy card, because he is the most recently airdropped one, and therefore the supply of him is higher than any other. And so there's a tighter market on these other ones, and therefore the prices are higher. That's just how it goes. But you can imagine that if there's 100 copies of Drath in the world that are held by people who don't really care about Drath, they got extra copies beyond what they needed, they're willing to sell them, they're eventually going to disperse those. And there's still only 4,100 copies of this card, there's only 1,400 cards actually to be when you look at the data. And so that, to me, with respect to Drath, tells me that across time, I believe you start to see a price appreciation on a card like that, all things equal. Now, you have to get into, with Rebellion cards, there's the whole, it's going to no longer be preparing battle or mage wagons, and you're not going to be able to get airdrops, so maybe that's a utility. Regardless, I'm just saying, supply shrinks across time, price should appreciate. Then we go back to the conversation on the soulbounds. Again, which cards are being sold right now? Is the marketplace being saturated with people with copies of cards from players who are desperate to sell cards they love? No. These are cards that are being sold by people who just got them and saw a financial opportunity, $1, $2, 50 cents, and maybe who had their DEC since cheaper, or who have earned their DEC for free across time and are like, you know what, I'm just going to unlock some of these and see what I can do with the marketplace. Who knows the story, but whatever the justifications that brought these different copies to the market, fewer and fewer and fewer copies will be brought to market tomorrow and the next day and the next day, not just because fees go up, that's part of it, but also because the people who have them are no longer wanting to get rid of them. Like, I had 3 extra Ava Sturgises, I got rid of them, and others are doing the same. And so at some point that liquidity dries up, and then you start to see the price spike, I think. Plus the fees going up means that the floor goes up. And so I think ultimately, yeah, it probably makes sense to do something like that. But it's two people. It's two different people. There's one person with a few $100, buy a few of these and just sit and wait. Or buy the DEC, like you said, with fresh money, and then you get the discount on the DEC, and then you apply it to the cards, and then you double dip essentially on the profit. But that's a bit of a richer man's version of the flip, which somebody might do by burning a Musa and sell it for $4.75.
Absolutely. There was another conversation, which I found very interesting, was to unbind some of the cards, kind of the meta cards that you have in your deck, like a max version.
Yep.
With the intention to be able to put them in the rental market in the future.
Yeah, I thought about that too.
Just imagine an ECR that you don't need for whatever reason. You put it on the market, and it gives you 200-300 DC per day. Yeah,
exactly. I was looking at that because I have a few of the summoners that are max level, and I have the gold foil and the regular foil. And so I don't need both. I could unlock one and just be ready to rent it out in the future. I would imagine there won't be a huge abundance of supply for those max level summoners. And same with Iziar, or same with, Ava Sturgis or Kulu or whatever.